Governance, Part 3. IT Governance, Part 3. Continuation of the program of the IT Governance presentation. Part 1 and Part 2 are already existing. So before you come to Part 3, please check out for the Part 1 and the Part 2, as this is a continuation of the two parts. My name still remains Aboyle Christopher. So this we're going to continue in this Part 3. Here, the table of content. This Part 3 is taken off from how do you implement an IT governance program. So, how do you implement an IT governance program? Of course, the easiest way is to start with a framework that's already existing, tested by other organizations, and proven to be of value. They will help you. They will be a guide and a help in all the phases of the implementation, and also helping you to overcome all the hurdles and speed bumps that might be on the way. So let's look at the most commonly used frameworks. Cobit means control objective for information and related technologies. The framework was developed in 1996 from ISACA. ISACA, some other people call it ISACA. It means Information Systems and Control Association, and it is probably the most popular. Basically, it's a set of guidelines and supporting tools actually a set of supporting tool for IT governance that is accepted worldwide. It's generally accepted. It's used by auditors and companies as a way to integrate technology in order to implement controls, thereby meeting specific business objectives. You map it. Cobit 2019 is the most recent and proved to be the only business framework for governance and management of enterprise IT. There has been an evolution in the versions which integrates latest thinking, that's Cobit 2019, has integrated latest thinking in the world of business or enterprise governance, management techniques as well, and provides a globally accepted principles, practices, and also it has analytical tools and models to help increase the trust in IT and also the value from IT or information systems. It has gone through some kind of evolution, as earlier mentioned. You have Cobit 5 that was built and expanded on the existed Cobit 4.1 by integrating other major standards from ISO, that is International Organization for Standardization. So Cobit is published by ISACA, which is very comprehensive to cover end-to-end. The Cobit 2019 has the parts for design, so a guide for design, then framework for governance and management objectives, framework introduction and methodology, and implementation guide, which is widely used by organizations, which focus on risk management and mitigation. So COVID is really a tool that is readily available to assist in terms of IT governance. So you may need it as a framework that you can apply in your IT or enterprise IT governance. Another framework that is generally used is called ITIL. ITIL stands for the Information Technology Infrastructure Library. It's a set of practice for service delivery, for IT service management, which focus on aligning IT services, with the needs of the business. In its current form, ITIL 2011 edition is published in a series of 5 core publications, and each of it covers an IT service management life cycle stage. Yes, ITIL underpins ISO, International Standard Organization, stroke IEC 20,000, which is previously BX, British Standard 15,000. So the International Service Management Standard for IT service management, although different from the 2 frameworks that exist, IT describes processes, procedures, tasks, and checklists that are not organizational or organization specific, used by enterprise or organization to establish integration with the organization's strategy, delivering value and maintaining a minimum level of competence. It allows the organization to establish a baseline from which it can plan, implement, and as well as measure. It is used to demonstrate compliance and to measure improvements. The ITIL from the government of the United Kingdom runs so close, second to Cobit in implementation. So IT comprises 5 sets of management best practices for service strategy. For service, talking about strategy, design, transition such as change management, operation, and continual service improvements. Other frameworks are COSO. COSO stands for Committee of Sponsoring Organization of Tradeway Commission, which focus on less IT specific than the others that we have mentioned earlier, but concentrate on business aspects like enterprise risk management and fraud deterrence. We also have capability maturity model integration method used as an approach for performance improvement, which follows giving some skills 1 to 5 as a gauge, yeah, for organizational performance. So you can also apply it in a mixed mode for measuring some critical risk that are qualitative in nature. We also have the most recent, which is FAIR. FAIR stands for Factor Analysis of Information Risk. It's relatively new, as I said. Excuse me. The focus is on cybersecurity and operational risk with the goal of making more well-informed decisions. It's really gaining prominence with Fortune 500 companies. Areas of IT governance lifecycle focus. You have stakeholders' value drivers to be aligned or, yes, cascaded to IT strategy alignment. Then IT should give value. Looking at IT value delivery, when the IT resources is properly managed to produce value, having aligned it with the stakeholders' drivers. And also the output from IT resource management should also be risk management. It's an IT governance output which must be measured. IT usage or resource management must be measured for performance in order to determine if it properly aligns with the IT business strategy and is giving value as expected. So the focus areas of IT governance life cycles has to do with stakeholders, drivers, value drivers. What are the expectations of the stakeholders? You look at the mapping, the IT infrastructure implementation to bring value to business needs or business cases. How has IT performed in terms of value delivery? It's an area that you need to govern to be able uh, give reports. Then is the risk or are the risks properly managed? Do you have a failover? Do you have a backup? Then what has been the performance in terms of the measurements? And as well, how has it properly aligned with stakeholders' value drivers? The strategic alignment domains or areas has to do with strategic execution alignment, technology transformation alignment, competitive potential alignment, and service level alignment. So these are some kind of pressure points, drivers that IT governance should address. Look at the model, the diagram. Talk about internal and external. Talk about business and information technology, functional integration and strategic fit. From the external point, you see business strategy, business scope that you are prepared to outsource, and the company that you are sourcing to, how distinctive is their competence? What informed your choosing them? What rules and governance, business rules and governance have you put in place to be able to manage the uh, outsourced resources or outsourced tasks? Then from the IT strategy aspect of it, what is the scope of technology investment that are required to cater for this outsourced tasks of businesses? What is the systematic competence of the people? And as well, what IT governance is in place to address all the cares and the worries in the use of IT to manage the outsourced resources, outsourced tasks or job. And if you look at the strategic fit, there's a link, up and down link, and cross-linked. Internally, you look at the administrative infrastructure, which is organizational infrastructure and processes. Look at the structure of the administration, the company itself, talking about the organogram, the distribution of tasks and job descriptions. What are the processes that are needed to be catered for, or the processes that the business need to run on? Then what are the required skills for the business to run smoothly? to the maximum. From the information technology area, what are the infrastructure in terms of the architectures of the IT that will be required? You're going to have standalone computers. Are you going to have a server? Are you going to have a network? What are the infrastructure, the architecture design of the IT that will be required to service the internal structure of the system, of the company? Then what are the processes that IT is going to support? And what are the skill level of the people to man the IT? So these are the areas of strategic alignment. What are the strategic alignment types? Strategic execution, technology transformation, competitive potential, and service level perspective. Here you have the domain, strategic alignment domain diagram. So if you look critically, you look at strategic execution alignment. You also have the competitive potential alignment, each of them talking to one another. You see the flow of the arrows. Then you look at technology transformation alignment as well as the service level alignment. Now, from the strategic execution alignment, business strategy now flows or is being distributed to organizational infrastructure or structures. Then now down to IT infrastructure, following business strategy, organization, then what IT infrastructure is needed to carry out the task or the business of the organization. Competitive potential alignment. What IT strategy is a company putting in place to help the business strategy as conceived to be able to have an edge over other competitors? Now here, you talk about IT infrastructure that will be needed, then you align it with the business strategy, and the business strategy as in the tasks, the processes are distributed to individuals in the organization. Vis-a-vis the investment on organizational infrastructure. Now, when I talk about organizational infrastructure, I also look at the resources that are required in the organization to achieve the business strategy. The same thing applies when you go to technology transformation alignment. The business strategy comes. Now, what IT investment am I going to make? What IT strategy am I going to take to resolve the issue of my business strategy? And that will inform me of the investment I'm going to make in IT, the infrastructures I'm going to put in place to support the strategy, the IT strategy, which will also, at the long run, support the business strategy. Now you go down to service level alignment. You talk about IT. How is IT going to help to meet the customer satisfaction? Put your strategy in place, like I'm going to send SMLs every month to my customers. So if I'm going to do that, what are the IT infrastructure that I need? So who is going to be involved in the organization after implementing the IT needs, the infrastructure, the equipment, software, hardware, or the likes that I require as an infrastructure, as an IT infrastructure? Then who are the people in the organization that are going to be responsible for carrying out the task as it were. That's organizational infrastructure. Then we have 6 steps processes for alignment by Luftmann and Breer, 1999. Now the 6 steps are: you set the goals and establish a team. Your process for alignment, looking at the company strategy, the IT strategy, how do you align it? And also to determine the organizational resources and infrastructure that may be required. So you set up the goals and establish a team. Now you also need to understand the business and the IT linkage, the handshaking. What is the business strategy? What is the IT strategy required to carry out the business of the organization? Then you talk about analyze and prioritize gaps. Gaps, those areas of needs. You need to look at scale of preference and importance. Okay, so because resources are scarce, so you now have to make a kind of scale of preference, looking at their importance, and you make a decision based on their importance. Then you look at specific actions that need to be taken. Here is generally about project management. What specific actions are to be taken in terms of having been able to understand the business IT linkage. Now you look at which ones are of a priority, then what specific actions are needed to be carried out immediately or later. You do your schedule, then you choose and evaluate success criteria. Of course, one of the success criteria has to do with top management buy-in and also value that the investment is going to bring to the business. Then, having done so, you now see how the alignment can be sustained over time. So, with this, we come to the end of this part. Please, as I've always solicited, please, if you have not subscribed to my channel, I want to ask or request or beg that you encourage me by doing so that I can continue to provide content. This is the part 3, and this is the end of the part 3. Look out for the part 4 and the part 5. Thank you.